Usually everyone short less than a minute. The rest short less than yeah. Oh, I just think, yeah. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, that thing happens. His grace will be crushed, also the fear of self and obtain words from Krishna, all the wishes to have on time, the spirit of life, by the word emanating from his lotus mouth. The attachment to the Lord speaks to the perfection and fills all desire. The recognize and fills my heart with the knowledge, bring my life, breath, word, static, bring my emanate, I have a big strong, spirit, gratitude, devotion, and mercy. The friend of God, the Lord, the action of both me, as to be respond to me. Give me the shade of your little feet, your fame, share of the free world. Today, church of your little feet, you're the Savior and the fallen. All glory to the Spirit and Master of all words.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tiravana Yamunatiravanachadi Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Madhava Kunjabi Adi Gopijana Bhalabha Girivardhari Gopijana Bhalabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajachandranjana Jasodanandana Brajachandranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jayom Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Astatara Satyasi Srimad His Divine Grace Isha Swami Shri Prabhupada Ananta Koti Vaishnavadindaki Gaur Prim Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 21. Different meter. Let's try this one. Svayam tvasam yati chayastraya dishaha Svaraja lakshmyapta samastakamaha Balim haradhishchira lokapalai Kirita kotyedita padapitaha Svayam tvasamyati shayastrayadishaha Svaraja lakshmyapta samastakamaha Balim haradhibhishchira lokapalai Kirita kotyeshdita padapitaha
Swayam tva asamyati sayasriyadishaha Rajya Lakshmi Apasamaha Hare Krishna Lokapalai Gita Kotyedita Padapitaha Swayam
Premananda? Go ahead. Svayam, himself, tu, but, asamya, unique, atishayaha, greater, three adishaha, Lord of the three, Svaraja, independent supremacy, Lakshmi, fortune, Apta, achieved, Samastakamaha, all desires, Balim, worshipping paraphernalia, Aradbihi, offered by Chiralokapalai, by the eternal maintainers of the order of creation. Kirita Koti, millions of helmets. Edita Pada Pitaha, feet honored by prayers. Translation, Lord Sri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes. It's explained in the purport. And is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation, who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. Very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna is so mild and merciful, as described in the above verses, and yet he is the Lord of all kinds of threes. He is the supreme Lord of the three worlds, the three qualities of material nature, and the three Purushas, Karanadakshayi, Garbhodakshayi, and Shiradakshayi Vishnu. There are innumerable universes, and in each and every universe, there are different manifestations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. Besides that, there is the Shesha Murti, who bears all the universes on his hoods. And Lord Krishna is the Lord of all of them, as the incarnation of Manu. He is the original source of all manus in innumerable universes. Each universe has manifestations of 540,000 manus. He is the Lord of the three principal potencies, namely Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. And he is the complete master of the 6 kinds of fortune, wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. There is none who can excel him in any matter of enjoyment, and certainly there's no one greater than him. No one is equal to or greater than him. It is the duty of everyone, whoever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. It is not wonderful, therefore, that all the transcendental controllers surrender to him and make all offerings of worship. Just picture in your mind for a moment Uddhava spending so many years with Krishna, intimately serving Krishna, knowing all these things about Krishna. It's inconceivable. Even to know all these things, that's kind of far. And as Krishna says, one who understands his transcendental nature, purna janma na, janma karma chime divyam, evam yoveti tattvataha. So to know in tattvataha isn't just, reciting verses. It's not that kind of knowing. And Uddhava has the other kind of knowing. He knows, and beyond the knowing, he's fixed in realization, practical. It's nice to marvel. And Krishna would consult Uddhava. What should I do? And Uddhava would give the right answer. Now, how did he give the right answer? Because Krishna gave him the right answer. And he knew that Krishna was giving him the right answer. And so, in other words, it's his love was so strong that he could engage like that with Krishna and not blink. He wasn't intimidated by, just this morning, I was listening to Srila Prabhupada lecture from December 74 in Bombay, and he was speaking about deity worship. And he was saying such nice things about deity worship, like many people told him, he was telling the audience, that your deity worship, the deity worship here is so nice. And then he repeated what some people, in addition to their saying, I'm feeling the desire to have conversation with your deity. He's so personal. And Prabhupada was saying that stage will come. That stage will come. But it's not just, when that day will come that your deity will speak with you. What to speak of Uddhava? A little sharing. It's related, but related to deity worship. I'm going to do some further research, but a question came up in a Gaur Purnima class with the Chinese devotees. So Monday, Gaur Purnima. I was in Phoenix, Arizona. It was 4:30 in the morning, having a Gaur Purnima class with the Chinese devotees because it was such a nice, important day. And topic of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being the Yuga avatar. So then the question came, in question answers, is it true that Krishna was the Yuga avatar for Dwapara Yuga? And if Krishna was the Yuga avatar for Dwapara Yuga, why did the Yuga avatar appear towards the end of the Yuga? Meaning that I didn't have the answer, so I had to ask learned people. I'm not done yet, but here's where I got so far. It's not necessary that the Yuga Dharma form of the Lord appears at the beginning. I still don't have an answer to that one. But at least one learned person, I'll leave his name unmentioned because it may get a different answer. It's not necessary. It's a function, but it doesn't have to come at the beginning because the function is rooted in Scripture, particularly the Agamas, that portion of the Vedic texts that teaches deity worship. Besides the Pancharatrika portion of the Vedas, the Agama portion, the Yuga Dharma is identified, and the deity worship is the Yuga Dharma for Dwapara Yuga. So people knew what to do because of the Scripture. Then if the people know what to do because of the Scripture, then what's the need of a Yuga avatar? This is my doubt. It's still a doubt. Because the Yuga avatar's function is to, by example, primarily teachings as well, establish Yuga Dharma. And one reply is yes. In Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Yuga Dharma personality and towards the beginning. But what about before he appeared? Kali Yuga had already passed for some period of time, and people were striving for spiritual perfection by chanting of the holy name. Go back in time before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. Because it's in the scriptures. So at least there's one very learned scholar that says it's not necessary that Yuga avatar appears at the beginning. And then what does it mean anyways? So then a nice reference from Bhagavat Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, there's a description of deity worship, and Jiva Goswami makes the comment that a deity should be worshipped like a Raja. Deity worship means to worship as one worships the king. So therefore, deity worship is meant to be very opulent. Even you're worshiping, because sometimes this question comes, maybe you've heard the question, I've heard it a few times. Why, if Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar, why do we address him with not in his sannyas mood, but his grahastha mood with Lord Chaitanya? Because we worship him as God himself. We don't, respect the sannyasi as in that same manner. Jagadananda tried and Lord Chaitanya rejected. Anyway, when you're addressing a king, if you have the good fortune of addressing the king or someone, or the prime minister or president or some VIP personality, there's conversation. And here, back to Uddhava. Uddhava understands Krishna's position. How does he understand Krishna's position? Because Krishna revealed it. Krishna didn't reveal in the same way to the residents of Vrindavan because they had a different mood. And their mood was Madhurya. And outside of Vrindavan, a little less Madhurya, a little more Aishwarya in Mathura, and much, much, much maximum Aishwarya and Dwarka. And so he has full understanding of Krishna's position. And yet, Krishna selected him out of all the associates to go to Vrindavan and experience what's even above Aishwarya, is the Madhurya of the residents of Vrindavan, and specifically his letter to the gopis. I mean, it was for the gopis' purpose, but it was also for Uddhava's purpose. It was Uddhava's purpose. And there's many nice descriptions. His hankering for the position of receiving the dust from the feet of the residents of Vrindavan, specifically receiving the dust from the feet of the gopis. But if I asked the gopis for the dust of their feet, they would be embarrassed, because he's this learned, dear associate of Krishna. Can I have some dust from your feet? It would be hard for them. So instead, let me become a blade of grass in Vrindavan, and the gopis can come and step on me, and that way I can get the dust from their feet, or dust can fly in the air and land on my grass body and receive dust from the feet of the gopis. I didn't get to the verse and purport yet, but I mean, it's just nice. In Padma Purana, there's a whole section in Padma Purana called Bhagavat Mahatmya. It's Padma Purana glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's very detailed, but a shorter version of the very detailed is the queens. Last night we were speaking about the queens meeting Draupadi. So the queens, after Krishna departed, were escorted by Arjuna from Dwarka to be in Mathura under the care of Krishna's grandson. And Krishna's grandson, to be under the care of the son of Maharaj Parikshit, Janamejaya. So Janamejaya, being the next ruler after Maharaj Parikshit, Janamejaya entrusted the kingdom to Krishna's grandson. What's the relationship? My memory starts to go sometimes. Yeah. Great-grandson. So the son of Vajranabha was the son of the great-grandson, but who was his father? Aniruddha? Okay, we'll have to look that up. You look it up. Vajranabha's father. So great-grandson, Vajranabha was put in charge of Mathura. So the queens were residing not in the capital, because they were to be protected, but they were with Vajranabha in Mathura. So they had a strong desire, very strong desire, to visit the places of Krishna's pastimes. And they heard Narada was with them, Vajranabha was with them, and the queens, there must have been some other persons with them. They went to Vrindavan. And when they went to Vrindavan, they had uproarious kirtan. And specifically at Uddhava Kund. And because it was understood that Uddhava had taken his birth as a blade of grass in this uproarious kirtan, Uddhava appeared. This is Padma Purana. Uddhava appeared from a blade of grass to join their kirtan. Because this is after Krishna has parted, right? And the Yuga Dharma has already begun. They were having uproarious kirtan. Uddhava appeared. And they thought, oh, Uddhava, tell us about Krishna. Can you narrate Srimad Bhagavatam? So he narrated Srimad Bhagavatam for their benefit. And according to Padma Purana, one by one, the queens returned to the spiritual world, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Uddhava. And Uddhava appeared because of this wonderful Sankirtan. It was a specific understanding, Narada's understanding. By Kirtan, Uddhava will appear. Huh? Son of Aniruddha. Okay. So Aniruddha is the son of Pradyumna, and Pradyumna is the son of Rukmini and Krishna. Son of Aniruddha. So back to the Bhagavatam. Uddhava is holding all these feelings. And the knowledge is not just information kind of knowledge. It's the basis and foundation for his feelings. Profound feelings for Krishna. Such profound feelings that when Vidura asks him, please tell me about the residents of Dwarka and how they're doing, especially Krishna and Balaram, he loses it. He goes into trance. He struggles to come out of trance to do service to this elder Vidura. And he's just reciting and reciting and reciting and reciting those chapters. This is chapter 2, but he's not done. He's just reciting the glories of Krishna. So it's nice to read many of the prayers to Krishna in the Bhagavatam. Study it sometime. The prayers, one of the elements in those prayers is citing the glories of Krishna, the glories of the Supreme Lord. And it's appropriate. When you think of or come before a great person, you speak their glories. So that's what he's doing, but he's doing it in this mood of spontaneous ecstasy. Only because he wants to serve Vidura. And otherwise, he's feeling separation, intense separation. And by remembering Krishna, this is what happens to Arjuna back in Canto 1. When Arjuna comes back to Hastinapur and reports to his elder brother, Yudhisthira, that Krishna left, he's a wreck. Crying, warrior Arjuna crying and can't control himself. And as he's speaking about Krishna in the mood of separation, thinking specifically about the kindness that Krishna gave him by speaking Bhagavad Gita to him, he regains his composure. Now it can go the other way too. You think deeply about Krishna's kindness, and you might lose your composure. But in this case, same with Uddhava. It's just whether he's losing it or regaining composure, his consciousness is manmana or madkatena antaratmana. And how do we get there? By hearing. Some of you were attending, or some of you may have seen remotely or whatever, that nice discussion by Yudhisthira, and then our acharyas explaining when Krishna met with Yudhisthira and the Pandavas at the Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse. There was a whole long section by our acharyas commenting on where's misfortune? Just to to see you and to hear topics about you. Because by that method of seeing and hearing topics about, it takes away all the potency is there, depends on our receptivity or our is our receiver on or off. The messages in themselves are sufficient for taking away all misgivings. And that's the negative or that benefit. And the ananda, the natural spiritual joy that's contained within those messages. So you're reading a nice section. It's Uddhava. Who could be a better speaker outside of Vrindavan? Who could be a better speaker of Krishna's glories than Uddhava? So let's go through. He's the Lord of all threes. Swayam tu asamya. Asamya. Sama and asama. So he has no equal, or he's unique. Asamurdva, Prabhupada would use that phrase over and over. There's no one equal to him, no one greater than him. He is unique. He's one of a kind. There may be others, his expansions, but he's unique even amongst his expansions. And amongst his expansions, there's so many. There's 4 listed in this purport. The Lord of all threes. The 3 worlds, the 3 qualities of material nature. Doesn't expand, but we all know the 3 qualities of material nature. He is the Lord. Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. He's the Lord of the 3 modes of material nature, which is conducted by the 3. And he's the Lord of the 3 Purushas. They, the Purushas, serve his will. To say that they serve his will doesn't mean they don't have independent will. They have independent will. Their independent will is to serve the Supreme and nothing else. And what's his will in relation to creation? Because the Vishnu forms are functional in relation to creation. Outside of creation, they're not Vishnu forms. We can say Vishnu Tattva because they're that category, but they're more complete in their activities, and the others are not dealing directly with creation. For example, because I spend so much time on it, just a little sharing. Shiva Tattva, you ready? Since I made that presentation, I came up with another. There's 8 different manifestations of Lord Shiva and different abodes for each of those 8 manifestations of Lord Shiva. And one of those manifestations of Lord Shiva is in the Vaikuntha realm, and he's absolutely equal to Vishnu. What? That's not the Lord Shiva we know. Lord Shiva that we know is milk in touch with the souring agent becomes dahi. That's the Lord Shiva that we know. It's right in the it's right in Sri Brahma Samhita. And that's within the Mahesh Dham realm. However, in the Vaikuntha Dham realm, I'll say it again, there's a form of Lord Shiva that's 100% Vishnu Tattva. And it's still Lord Shiva. Ooh. Vishnu Tattva in Vaikuntha, because he doesn't touch material creation. there's the touch of material creation, when there's the touch of material creation, then he takes another name, Shambhu. That Shambhu is the glance of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu doesn't touch, so he stays Vishnu Tattva. But when the glance of Mahavishnu touches material creation for the purpose of the Prakriti, for the purpose of material creation, he becomes milk in touch with the souring agent. Anyway, Lord Shiva, in his position as Sankarshana is Vishnu Tattva. However, the term Sankarshana, I'll get back to the text, but the term Sankarshana can also apply to the transformed Lord Shiva. So the nomenclature depends on the context. The meaning, how do we take the meaning? Depends on context. And that's just part of the way that Sanskrit works, as far as I've gathered. Context is of utmost importance. It's imperative to understand the context of something. So he's the Lord of the three Purushas, and the Purushas have an interest, Vishnu, the forms for the purpose of creation. Although they're within creation, they don't touch. Lord Shiva is the one that touches. But those, similarly, in our Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, those three are Vishnu Tattva. Look carefully in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and even more so in Chaitanya Bhagavat, and often Advaita Charya is referred to as Sankarshan. But he's not the Lord Shiva that comes in contact with material nature. He's the original Sankarshan. And it's abundant. If you don't have that understanding of the different positions of Lord Shiva, it's like, what's going on? Is he Mahavishnu or is he Lord Shiva? And sometimes they use the word Shiva. What's going on? It's because it depends on the context. How do you understand Mahavishnu? Why do we understand Advaita Charya as Shiva? He's not Shiva Tattva. It's part of Shiva Tattva that's in the Vaikuntha realm. That's how we understand it. Therefore, Shiva Tattva is very difficult to understand. I don't mean to spin you out. It's just like, it's kind of, our acharyas understand these things. And it's not just by, textbook. It's they have it by, it's revealed to them. It's not jnana, it's vijnana. And that's the kind of knowledge that Uddhava is speaking, is the kind of knowledge that's in Prabhupada's purports. Krishna is the manifestation of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or Rudra. Krishna is the source of the Sheshamurtis. Now there's a Sheshamurti that's at the bottom of each universe, and there's another Sheshamurti that's holding on his hoods all the universes. He's also a manifestation of Ananta Shesh. It's a Vishnu Tattva. But Krishna is the Lord of all of them, all the Sheshamurtis at the bottom of the universe and Sheshamurtis that are holding up all the universes. Krishna is the source of all of them. Purport. As the incarnation of Manu. He's an incarnation of Manu, or Manu is his incarnation, so he's an incarnation of Manu, or Manu is his incarnation, say the other way. Doesn't mean Manu is Krishna, but Manu is, the vibhutis of Krishna. It's one of his manifestations. And there's a lot of them, 504,000. Then the Lord of the three potencies, Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, Tatastha Shakti, that's the fourth of the Lord of the threes. So it's just in this one verse, and he's not elaborating it by giving purports and commentaries, but it's part of his realization of who is Krishna. And he's feeling great separation. He's been serving Krishna in this way for many years. For the whole time that Krishna was in Mathura, and for the whole time that Krishna was in Dwarka, Uddhava was engaged in his intimate service. Even when he wasn't physically by Krishna's side, he was absorbed in Krishna's service, mindful of his position in relation to Krishna, and mindful of Krishna's unlimitedness. And Krishna's gone. Now let's just layer one more thing on top of that. The gopis don't have that understanding of Krishna's divinity, but the sweetness of their love exceeds the sweetness of Uddhava's love for Krishna. So much so that Uddhava desires their sweetness and desires the dust from their feet. So if you keep putting all these different things together, the Bhagavatam, is there any literature like this? I'm thinking, the girl that said that the God word is something that I had allergy to. But here I am, learning about Krishna. Because it's not just the God word. Intimidating, foreboding, and if you don't, you're going to go to the bad place. It's not like that. Going to the bad place is certainly possible, but the other is also certainly possible. And it's so inviting and so intriguing and so filled with mystery. And so sweet. Knowing all these things, Uddhava was filled with the sweetness of the love that he felt towards Krishna and Krishna felt towards him, and his feelings towards the love of the gopis. So Uddhava is a good companion to hear from when appreciating Srimad Bhagavatam. And the last sentence, it is two sentences. It is the duty of everyone, therefore, whoever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. It is not wonderful, therefore, that all the transcendental controllers surrender to him and make offerings of worship. That's this Chira Lokapalai, the protectors of Pala, the protectors of the universe. No surprise. Let's see if there's some discussion. Yes?
Guru Maharaj, I have an appreciation and a couple of questions to submit to you. I've heard you say that Pyari Mohan Prabhu told you that,
Yes.
Oh, you're coming on Shivaratri. And I'm appreciating how that sent you on a PhD thesis on Shiva Tattva. So
It was wild. It was a wild journey.
So I'm appreciating how for Paramahansa of your caliber, it only takes a little udipan to send you on a wild goose chase.
It's still going, by the way.
Yes. I heard that you're going to be writing.
And the devotees in China want me to do it in China because they're perplexed by Lord Shiva. Some of them fascinated. You heard the questions last night. They're fascinated. So I'm just adding.
And I've heard. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And I've heard all those classes repeatedly, and I'm completely bewildered. But that's okay.
Well, let me just respond. The first time I presented these, I have to remember where was I? I was in Hartford in someone's home. And the someone was a group of young married couples, all college graduates, just with their jobs, just with, some had some children, but they're all well-educated people. So I decided, okay, this is a 301 class, the audience. And at the end, one of them said, my younger brother is a very ardent worshiper of Lord Shiva. And the only thing he knows is one of these abodes, the Lord Shiva that resides in Kailash. And this is mind-blowing. My brother's going to love to hear this. Can I get the PowerPoint? I said, better. I'll make a little document that includes all this and circulate it. Anyway, go ahead.
Couple of questions, Guru Maharaj. In the case of some of the associates of Lord Krishna, they tend to become familiar with him while they're intimate.
Yes.
And in Uddhava's case, he's extremely intimate, yet there doesn't seem to be any familiarity throughout the journey that I have read in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is it because of what you explained in terms of the gopis' intimacy gets covered and they're not aware of his divinity, whereas Uddhava is always aware of the divinity?
I'm trying to recall if there's descriptions of intimacy. And because of the kind of service that he did, whether or not there was any or there was none of intimacy, I can't say for sure. But it's what your suggestion certainly makes sense. And therefore, his position is quite unique. I mean, not only his position is quite unique, there's others. Sukadeva Goswami is quite unique. Narada Muni is quite unique in that those are two Mahajans. They certainly knew, but they also had intimacy. So somehow they were able to juggle or manifest both intimacy and Aishwarya. So whether there were exchanges between Uddhava and Krishna, where there was intimacy or not, I don't know. I don't recall reading or hearing anything about that. Unique relationship for sure.
Question from the translation, Guru Maharaj. One of the sentences reads, Lord Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. So, can I understand the sentence to mean that Krishna is independent of material fortune? Or
yes. Yeah. Yes. I was, excuse me. The way that the word for word is divided could be divided differently. Because when I read the Sanskrit, Raja Lakshmi, there's the Sva and Raja Lakshmi, or Sva Raja Lakshmi. So Raja Lakshmi is the name of the goddess of Lakshmi. Raja Lakshmi. And I don't know the detail, but there's some specific relationship between Raja Lakshmi and other Lakshmis. She's like, the Lakshmi of all Lakshmis. It's like a special nomenclature. That's my understanding, at least. And he is the Lord of her. So his good fortune is manifest in her, not that he becomes fortunate because of her. Therefore, it's Svaraja Lakshmi, supreme independent supremacy. So, and is independently supreme by achievement, as if he didn't have, and then now he's going to achieve something that he didn't have. I don't know if there's a purpose behind the achievement word, and if other words could also be used, maybe even more appropriately, because Prabhupada approved, but my understanding is a lot of the Sanskrit synonyms was the service of Pradyumna as a Sanskritist. Whatever Pradyumna did, Prabhupada had to approve, and most likely there were some corrections or editing of what Pradyumna did, but it was to ease some of the load of Prabhupada's service in preparing Srimad Bhagavatam, to give that service to Pradyumna. And I can only imagine Pradyumna had from time to time some questions. Should this word be translated this way or that way? Because there's different, everything depends on context. So the independent or achieving, may not be the best word in terms of, if the meaning is achieving something that you don't have and then you get something you don't have, that's not Krishna. So what's the meaning of achieving if it's not that? Manifesting.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Uddhava's transformation from being a Jnana Bhakta to Prema Bhakta took place after Krishna sent him to Vrindavan, and he meets with the gopis and Srimati Radharani.
Well, wait a minute. I want to edit what you're saying. Your statement is he was a Jnana Bhakta and then became a Shuddha Bhakta, a Rasika Bhakta.
Yeah. No?
I wouldn't, his realization may not have been complete, but I wouldn't call him a Jnana Bhakta. I wouldn't call him a Jnana Bhakta. There's some statements here that says that?
In the previous one of the verses in this chapter, it said, I think it was, I can't remember exactly where I read, he being the disciple of Brihaspati, and he was at Jnana Bhakta. I'll go read and where I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm surprised.
But
I can't. It's hard for me to think of Uddhava as a Jnana Bhakta.
I don't know if I read it in Bhagavatam or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I'll just
keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, there was Krishna selected him to meet with the gopis.
Yes.
Right? And so he saw different degrees of feelings of separation experienced by the gopis and what experienced by Srimati Radharani. And in that section where Srimati Radharani is experiencing the pain, it was described that it was the pain was of such an intensity
It was the same what?
The pain that Srimati Radharani experienced was like many lightning bolts striking her body, or like a drinking of Kalakuda poison. And when you were talking about Lord Shiva, I was thinking like one drop of that poison is able to destroy the entire universes. And Lord Shiva was such a person who could even neutralize that intense poison. That was one thing I was thinking. And so naturally it has to be Krishna when you were talking about Sadashiva in the Vaikuntha planet. And so when we were reading the section dealing with how intense was the pain of Srimati Radharani, and Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya wanted to experience that intensity of
Yeah.
pain. And so that makes me feel like this is the ultimate gift that we can receive, to be able to worship the Lord who came in a human form to experience that pain. And we can only appreciate, but still, even to be able to worship that form of the Lord, who is personally experiencing the intensity of pain experienced by Srimati Radharani. So I feel that this is the greatest good fortune any human being can get. And therefore, I feel like receiving Lord Chaitanya in our temple and being able to worship, it's an ultimate blessing. I just wanted to share that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
No, Pujari, you heard all that, right? You going to get the blessing? Pray to Jaipatak Maharaj that you get the opportunity to serve the lordships like that, in such a mood.
Just wanted to, I just felt that when I was preparing for one class prior to this, I'll go back and check where I read that Uddhava being the transformation that took place.
Okay. Anyone else? Online.
This is about the yesterday's document about the liberation of the devotees' generations. So this is from Megha Mataji. She asks, if she's sharing with someone and say that they ask her back whether it is 10 generations or 21 or 14. So what should I answer them, or just don't tell it to them, or
Don't go into the counting business. Understand good fortune will be given to others by your becoming blessed with bhakti. That's the answer I would give.
Question, but I need your.
We're going to bring you the microphone. Because there are people remote, they may not be able to hear you.
Just thinking of, many days I'm thinking about this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to come alone and stand alone to take the worship from us. And in which mood we should worship him, because he's the manifestation of Radha and Krishna together. So, and also he is not separate from Nityananda Prabhu. So he is supposed to be always with Nityananda Prabhu. But here, in which mood we should worship him and pray to him?
In which mood? My answer to a question like that is it depends. That depends on your faith and your own personal devotion. It's not like if you have this view, somebody else has another view, and somebody else has another view. And one of you is wrong and the other two are right. Depends on the mood of devotion. And another mood is he, Mahaprabhu, is giving access to Radha Krishna. And he's worshipped because by his mercy we have access to Radha Krishna. So that's another mood. And then there can be other moods. So it depends. And it can range even for one worshipper in different moods at different times. And that's quite okay. It doesn't mean, oh, that was a wrong mood and now it's the right mood. So don't put it in a bucket. That's all I'm saying. Okay?
Without mercy and love, Nityananda, not at all possible to get the blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, isn't it?
Then there, in transcendental arguments, one can make an argument to that argument. The manifestation of Lord Nityananda in your life is your spiritual master. And you don't approach the deity without approaching your spiritual master by the blessings of your spiritual master, you approach the deity. And that's the mercy of Lord Nityananda.
Thank you so much. What a great answer. Thank you so much.
Well, let's do this one. Don't go away. You've seen the altar. You personally have had darshan of the altar in Sridham Mayapur, right? In Yogpith, right? And where's Lord Nityananda? It's Mahaprabhu. So there must be, and there is, a transcendental mood that's appropriate, because otherwise we're not dismissing Lord Nityananda. We're honoring Lord Nityananda in a different way. And there's nothing wrong. It's very wonderful to worship Lord Nityananda along with Lord Chaitanya. But specific for worshiping Radha Krishna is with Lord Chaitanya. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I have a question from last evening's class. You talked about Krishna's queens and their humility for Krishna, their mood.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Repeat it.
Yeah, so I was thinking Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. And my understanding is he reciprocates to his devotees based on their rasas. So I was thinking, my question is, does Krishna personally feel a rasa towards his queens, or is he only a reciprocator for his
He's it's not stagnant, it's dynamic. And that is two things. Even the rasas are very fluid. They're not static, not concrete. It's like water. Keeps flowing. And he's the source of everything. At the same time, he reciprocates with his devotees who have a particular rasa or taste or mellow in their worship of him, which is quite fluid. So it's not a one-way street this way or that way. It's a reciprocal street. That's how rasa moves. And as the devotee moves, Krishna moves. As Krishna moves, the devotee moves. Because the business of the devotee is to please Krishna, and the business of Krishna is to please the devotee. Now I can't, meant to look up the word. What was the word that your husband used? That bhakta, vashita? Vashita. The meaning of specific in that verse, Bhakta Vatsala I'm familiar with. Bhakta Vashita I'm not. The meaning, can you recall? Okay. Okay. Which sounds very similar to Bhakta Vatsala, but that's the flow is he has very Vatsala, like parental affection. He reciprocates with, and the other is he's controlled by. Okay. Something online.
She has a follow-up. So she says
Who's he said?
about the devotee liberation numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. She says, it is to help someone get enlightenment and attraction. I understand how our behavior will also impact others and inspire others, but we don't have that power on relatives who don't live with us and they're not into Krishna
That's okay.
consciousness.
Krishna does. You don't have to be all powerful like Krishna is. There's some karmic connection that you're within a family in a family line, and you can bring shame to your family line, or you can bring glory to your family line. And the basic idea is, although you can't see, you don't have the connection Krishna does, and you become a glorious person in terms of your relationship with Krishna, and benefit flows to them. You don't have to do anything else. You can do something else, but you don't have to do anything else. It's like this question of, do we perform Shraddha ceremony or not? You can do or not. It goes to them. That's the idea. That's the idea. There's another question.
Amara Mataji,
Okay.
she asks, Hare Krishna Maharaj, so Sri Uddhava going in trance when Vidura asks him about Krishna is very endearing. My question is, how does an elevated devotee, while remaining in consciousness like being in trance, still being able to hold the awareness that he needs to come back in the present and answer? Similarly, we have...
The last part of your voice, I got garbled.
My question is, how does an elevated devotee, while remaining in trance, is able to hold the awareness that he needs to come back in the present and answer?
I think we'll just have to wait till we get there. A very obvious answer is such a person is under Krishna's full control, and on Krishna's full control, he recognizes Uddhava's mood of service, and Uddhava likes to serve. Uddhava's a very cultured, highly cultured person, and here's this senior person. Now, Uddhava is senior to a senior person, but he's looking up to, here's Vidura. So he's uncle, and in a remote sense, he's uncle. He's a member of the royal family, and he's asking me, how's Krishna? So he wants to be in service. The Super Soul provides the intelligence. That's how something can happen when you're in trance and you're maintaining consciousness. That's Super Soul's gift. You got to serve Uddhava. You got to serve Vidura. You'll come back to external consciousness. Okay. It's Super Soul. Those platforms, everything is moving, just like her question, everything is moving by the reciprocation with the devotee and the Supreme Lord. That's a whole other reality than you and I are experiencing. Srila Prabhupada ki. Right.